Yeah?
I guess you can wear it before.
Okay. If you are like most people,
Yes.
you probably looked into the mirror this morning. And my guess is that what you saw was you. Can you imagine looking into the mirror and not recognizing the image you see? This happened to me. I don't mean this literally. Of course, I still saw my brown eyes and my chubby cheeks and my unique teeth, but there was something reflecting from that mirror which was stronger than the sum of my characteristics. I saw hundreds of hours of TV shows. I saw interviews in women's magazines. I saw scenes from sad documentaries where women show their bald heads to their girlfriends. I saw all the people I once knew that are no longer here because they have been taken away by the monster. I saw a patient. The only thing I wished for in the first days after getting the diagnosis breast cancer was to turn back time. I wanted to go back to the moment when I still took time for granted. And like Roald Dahl's Mathilda, I used all my mental power to turn back the clock, but it didn't work. A few weeks into the treatment, I started reading everything I could about this disease and its treatment. And I started noticing that there is a certain language the media use to talk about women with cancer. They speak about them as brave and warriors and Amazons and courageous. And although I knew they were talking about me and I was supposed to feel addressed, I didn't at all. And the more I would read this or hear this, the angrier I got. Let me explain why. Receiving this diagnosis is like being pushed into a dark and narrow tunnel. You can't go back. You don't know what's inside of it, and you have no idea what's at the end of it. This feeling of your whole life being reduced to this tunnel is just so suffocating. And you're afraid. But being afraid doesn't mean that you're courageous. Courage means choosing to confront something. The choice part is crucial. And ignoring the fact that as a cancer patient you have absolutely no choice in dealing with this is ignoring the worst part of it. So please, don't call cancer patients courageous. I've thought a lot about why people do this. They replace desperateness by courage. And I guess that it's because of their own fear of being so helpless, of being in pain, and being subject to the forces of nature and hopefully some good doctors. It might be too much to bear when you have the choice. To me, this way of talking about patients is childish, like when a toddler makes a perfectly age-appropriate drawing and its parents go like, oh, wow, that's amazing, you're an artist, come on. Then, if you talk to me like that, you don't treat me like a complete and competent adult. Don't do that. Along the unexpected journey that I call my experience with cancer, I learned about some side effects that nobody talks about. Yes, 7 months of chemotherapy suck. The nausea, the diarrhea, it sucks. Losing your hair sucks. Losing a breath sucks. It was not Being ill is a very personal and intimate experience. Nobody likes to share his bodily problems with just anyone. We need a certain degree of privacy about our body and our health issues. But the problem with cancer is that it shows. A bald head for a woman is a very strong signifier. The fact that it was so obvious that I had this problem made me feel naked. It was like my wrapping, my outside was missing. We are storytelling species. It's what defines us. We give structure to the world around us and meaning to it by telling stories. I love stories. I'm a storyteller myself. We can learn from stories, we can enjoy them, and they make connections between people. But there are some experiences that we cannot do justice by simple stories. For most of these stories are about good and bad, about joy and pain, sickness and health. Binary oppositions, we love them. They sound so good and therefore we want to believe they're true. But reality is often more complex and messy. What is the first thing that comes into your mind when you see a woman with cancer? Do you feel sorry for her?
I think about that.
Yeah, death. Yeah. Does it make you sad?
Horrified. Scared.
Yeah. And maybe it makes you feel relieved that you're not in her shoes. I don't know. But you probably don't think or don't wonder what kind of job she has, if she's into sports, if she's a member of a political party, or what she had for breakfast this morning. This is stigma at work. Everything she is being overshadowed by the stigma of cancer. And the problem with stigma, besides the fact that people attribute a set of values to you, is that it can lead to self-stigma. When everybody sees you in a certain way, even if you don't agree, after a while, you start seeing yourself in that way. Then people respond to that, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. When stigma is that strong, you are losing your identity as a person. And I can tell you that that is even worse than losing your health. Many, many women in this situation struggle with this problem. So I had to do something about it. And I decided I was gonna take this as a challenge. I decided I was going to do everything within my power to maintain my dignity and control over my image and self-image. It all started with this photo. I love this photo, I love this woman. The first one was in my workspace at the time, and I decided that I wanted this feminine and strong look, and that I was not gonna wear a wig. So I looked up some online tutorials about head wrapping, and I started practicing, and actually I had a lot of fun. And after a few hours, I found a style that suited my wardrobe, and felt ready to include it in my wardrobe. Accepting the situation and turning it into an opportunity helped me facing this challenge. Using creativity to rebuild my self-image felt very empowering. I absolutely looked different than before, but it felt like me, a new me I invented. And sure, people still saw that I looked a little bit awkward. I mean, I didn't have eyebrows and eyelashes, but this reinvention, this creation process worked like an antidote for the self-stigma, and I guess also for the stigma. In the hospital, women would come up to me and ask me, "How did you do that? Can you explain to me?" But then healthy women on the street would do the same because they simply liked the style. So instead of getting looks of pity, I had lots and lots of great conversations with strangers about head wrapping. It's very important for me to make sure you understand this is not about women having to live up to some standard of beauty while they're ill. Absolutely not. It's about real acceptance. It's about creativity and self-care as tools to empower yourself when you're at a very difficult point. In the course of my year of treatment, I started to apply the same mechanism to all areas of my life. I started researching topics like the benefits of sports, healthy eating, how to maintain my weight, the power of sleep, many subjects. And I found that there was so much I could do to take better care of myself and to feel better, both physically and psychologically. As an academic, reliable resources were very important. There's a lot of disinformation about cancer, especially on the web. It was an elaborate process to find what I was looking for, but since I made this promise to myself, I endured. And in this process, I started wondering why there wasn't a book about self-care for women with cancer. And in this year, it became almost inevitable to make such a book myself. So after one unexpected adventure, I stumbled into the next unexpected adventure, writing a book. From the start, I had a very clear idea of the three pillars this book had to be based on. Information, up to date and verified by the best experts. Inspiration, images with no connotations of misery. And empowerment, psychological and practical tools to get back the feeling of control over your life. As I told you, I think that women with cancer are not represented in a good way in the media. This braveness thing doesn't work out well for them. Therefore, I wanted to offer an alternative imagery. I wanted to make something that could appeal to any woman. Images based on personality, creativity, and possibilities. So I made a list of the conditions for this visual language. I wanted to be stylish. I wanted to be serene, because you feel very agitated in a situation, so something soothing and calming. I wanted it to be contemporary, but not too hip. It has to last a few years. I wanted it to be wearable, comfortable, because when you're feeling bad physically, you're not gonna wear clothes that are uncomfortable. Appealing to all ethnicities and ages. Doesn't need any explanation, I guess. Not too girly, childish, not too much pink, because everything that has to do with breast cancer is pink. Yeah. And not imposing emotions, because many images are like strong or sad, you know, and it doesn't leave room for your own feelings, your own interpretation of the situation. I decided this was a task for a professional crew. So I approached a very good fashion photographer and a very good stylist. And they both immediately agreed to participate in the project. I made some mood boards, met with them again, and when I felt certain this was going to work, I decided I had to do a crowdfunding campaign, because for 5 days of professional photo shooting, yeah, you need some money, even if you're working with a lot of volunteers. So also with a lot of volunteers, we made a beautiful crowdfunding film, and this crowdfunding campaign was very successful. I don't have the time to show you the crowdfunding film, but 2 months after the end of the crowdfunding campaign, we were shooting, and then we made this video to thank the backers, and I'll show it to you now.
176 donateurs hebben mogelijk gemaakt dat wij hier vandaag zijn en dat we foto's kunnen maken voor het boek. Nou, dat vind ik echt ongelooflijk gaaf. Het is een droom die uitkomt na bijna 2 jaar nadenken over hoe dit boek eruit moest komen te zien. Om nu die beelden ook te maken en op de computer al te zien hoe het gaat worden. Het is echt fantastisch. Ik ben heel tevreden. Maar zonder jullie had ik dit nooit kunnen doen. Dus ik wil jullie ontzettend bedanken. Jullie zijn geweldig.
In June 2017, my book Je lijf, je looks, je leven, zorgen voor jezelf als je kanker hebt, which means your body, your looks, your life, taking care of yourself when you have cancer, was released. And this is it. It was a very amazing experience. I don't really know how to explain it to you. Then there was a lot of attention in the media, and this was, I think, the best day, because this was an interview in the newspaper I've been reading my whole life, so I was extremely proud. And then I also got very nice emails from readers that confirmed the idea I had about this book. When I put it like this, it might sound like this was all very easy. It was not. In the process, I bumped into some long neglected personal issues. The thing I was most afraid of was inside of myself. Many, many times during the process, my inner voice would go gaggling. What do you think you are, some kind of writer? You are never gonna finish this. Oh, you won't find a publisher. Nobody's gonna read this book. It's all crap. The truth is, for many years, my perfectionism had refrained me from doing the thing I desired most, instigating my own creative projects. And this lack cast a large shadow over all the good stuff in my life. So how did I overcome this? I think it happened because I really, really understood that I am going to die. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe when I'm 85. I don't know. But I do know that time is my most precious resource. This awareness changed my life. It made me reconsider everything I had ever done or believed in. It was a strange period of my life, and I think it was more determining for who I am now than being ill. And actually, it's not over yet. But I'm happy about it because it is growth. And you cannot grow without growing things. I believe that our biggest fear can sometimes lead us towards our strongest motivations. That's why I don't fear the fear anymore. I try to embrace it. And like Confucius said, we all have two lives. The second one starts when we realize we only have one. And this is so true, because what's the worth of a life living when you don't have the courage to be yourself?
Now, enjoy the power and beauty of your youth. Oh, never mind. You will not understand the power and beauty of your youth until they've faded. But trust me, in 20 years, you'll look back at photos of yourself and recall in a way you can't grasp now how much possibility lay before you and how fabulous you really looked. You are not as fat as you imagine. Don't worry about the future, or worry, but know that worrying is as effective as trying to solve an algebra equation by chewing bubblegum. The real troubles in your life are apt to be things that never crossed your worried mind, the kind that blindsides you at 4 p.m. on some idle Tuesday. Do one thing every day that scares you. Sing. Don't be reckless with other people's hearts. Don't put up with people who are reckless with yours. Floss. Don't waste your time on jealousy. Sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind. The race is long, and in the end, it's only with yourself. Remember compliments you receive. Forget the insults. If you succeed in doing this, tell me how. Keep your old love letters. Throw away your old bank statements. Stretch. Don't feel guilty if you don't know what you want to do with your life. The most interesting people I know didn't know at 22 what they wanted to do with their lives. Some of the most interesting 40-year-olds I know still don't. Get plenty of calcium. Be kind to your knees. You'll miss them when they're gone. Maybe you'll marry, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll have children, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll divorce at 40. Maybe you'll dance the funky chicken on your 75th wedding anniversary. Whatever you do, don't congratulate yourself too much, or berate yourself either. Your choices are half chance. So are everybody else's. Enjoy your body. Use it every way you can. Don't be afraid of it or what other people think of it. It's the greatest thing.
Okay, so this is something that I added yesterday to the presentation after the advice of Claudia, the speaker's coach. Let's go back. So what I really want is to translate this book into English so I can go abroad and bring my message to people everywhere. But I need some things because I've done everything by myself and there are some things I cannot do myself. I need some help in marketing and communication. I need a Dutch-English translator and I really would like to get in touch with publishers. So if you have any leads, don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you.
Maybe there are some volunteers already. Please raise your hand.